Living in Serbia, one of the common things that we get talking about with a lot of the local people here is that corruption is at an all-time high. And for some reason, the people here in Serbia think that corruption only happens in Serbia and there's no other place in the world that has corruption on this level here. However, I beg to differ in many ways, and the reason I bring this up is because one of the reasons that they're talking about corruption and something that never happens in the world anywhere else is what happened at the Novi Sad train station with the awning collapsed and fell and killed 16 individuals at the Novi Sad train station. However, not only is that false, that has never happened anywhere else in the world, and I'm going to get into a number of examples of other construction projects that have failed and actually killed people all around the world. But on other levels of corruption that they are talking about here in Serbia is even 10x in other countries. However, because it's so out in the open here in Serbia, people think that it is the worst here. But one thing that I do like to say to people here in Serbia is that a lot of people, including the regular Joe, has access to some sort of corruption here. You're able to, for instance, sell your vegetables on the side of the road, get paid in cash and not pay taxes on that. That is a form of corruption. You are able to make moonshine here and sell that on the road too. That's some sort of corruption. However, when I bring this up to some of the locals here, they say, well, that's only small time. We're talking about the big things. And what I like to say is that corruption is corruption is corruption. Doesn't matter if it's on the small level or on the big level. It's all corruption. But at the same time, everyone here has access to some sort of corruption, where if you go to countries such as United States, Canada, other Western European countries, the corruption is only accessible to the upper echelon. And you as a regular Joe are going to be penalized if you try and take part of that said corruption. But without going any further into this, because I know I already ruffled up some feathers just in these couple minutes of this video, let me get into some other construction projects that have failed due to corruption that have been in other places in the world, not just in Serbia. And I know even during this video, I'll have people saying, yeah, but, yeah, but, yeah, but, yeah, but, yeah, but. And, that's fine. I'm willing to take on the people that want to badmouth me or say that I'm not accurate about things, but facts are facts, and that's all I talk about. Now, the first one I want to talk to you about happened May of 2022 in Iran at the Metropolitan Building collapse. On May 23rd, 2022, the 10-story Metropole building in Abadan, Iran, a collapse under construction, resulting in 41 deaths and 37 injuries. The building had illegally added 4 floors beyond the permitted 6. Authorities arrested 13 individuals, including the building owner, contractors, and the mayor of Abadan. The incident sparked nationwide protests against government negligence and corruption. So here we have 41 deaths, 37 injuries because of, corruption, essentially. The next one we're going to move into is Bangladesh at the Rana Plaza collapse in April of 2013. This happened on April 24, 2013. The 8-story Rama Plaza building in Savar, Bangladesh collapsed, killing 1 and 134 people were injured. The building was constructed with a substandard material and had illegally added floors. Despite visible cracks, garment workers were forced to return to work before the collapse. Owner Sol Rana and 40 others were charged with murder and building code violations. That's one of the things that people are bringing up here, is that the concrete here in Novi Sad train station was subpar, but you have that here in Bangladesh too. Now, next, we're going to jump into Saudi Arabia, where the Jeddah residential building collapsed in 2024. That was just 1 year ago. A residential building in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, collapsed, resulting in 7 deaths and 8 injuries. Investigations revealed that the building owner and deputy minister had ignored municipal orders to halt construction and illegally added floors through corrupt practices in obtaining permits. Several individuals, including government officials and contractors, were arrested. In Turkey, earthquake induced building collapse, February 2023, so just 2 years ago, a massive earthquake struck Turkey, leading to the collapse of numerous buildings and over 37,000 deaths. Investigations uncovered that many buildings failed to meet safety standards due to corruption and lax enforcement of building regulations. The government ordered arrest and promised thorough investigations into the construction failures. Now we're going to go into France at the Maricel building collapse in 2018. They had 8 fatalities, and the cause, 2 buildings of Rus, I can't pronounce the rest of it, collapsed due to long-standing structural negligence and poor maintenance. Corruption linked. The incident highlighted systematic failures to municipal oversight, reports indicating that 13% of the Maricel housing was substandard. Now we're going to head into Italy. Italy, the Porte Morandi bridge collapse in 2018. This had 43 fatalities. The causes were the collapse during the storm, which investigations pointed to corrosion and inadequate maintenance of the structure. The link to corruption, the bridge was managed by Autostrade per Italia, a private company under scrutiny for neglecting infrastructure upkeep while profiting from toll revenues. Now we're going to move into the United States, because one of the things that a lot of the people here in Serbia says, oh, this doesn't happen in the United States or in Canada. Here's the Surfside condominium collapse in 2021. So this is not something that was back in the past. The location was in Florida, United States. You had 98 fatalities. The cause of was the Champlain Towers South partially collapsed due to structure failures, including long-term degradation of reinforced concrete and corrosion of steel reinforcements. The link to corruption was prior reports had identified significant structural issues, but necessary repairs were delayed. Allegations arose regarding lax enforcement of building codes and potential corruption in the building original construction and subsequent inspections. And the next one is again from the United States, in New York City parking garage in 2023. This happened in Manhattan. You had one casualty or one fatality there, and a multi-story parking garage collapsed due to structural weakness in the nearly 100-year-old building. The garage had a history of building violations, with 64 recorded since 1976. Despite this, it remained operational, highlighting failures in regulatory enforcement and oversight. So just in these little bit here that I'm just talking about in construction, the corruption is not only focused on Serbia. It doesn't only happen in Serbia. You have corruption, and I'm not getting into other scandals that we have around the world, especially when we had the Trudeau government in Canada. There is a number of scandals there. Essenly Lavanley, a consulting firm that got loads of money to do essentially nothing. You had the ArriveCan app when the COVID-19 pandemic came out, which they spent tens of millions of dollars developing an app that didn't even work, but then they had some kid that was able to develop it for less than $500,000 and worked even better. So when people bring up corruption here and try and tell people, especially those that don't know, that corruption is at an all-time high here. Sure, there's corruption in Serbia, and I'm not saying that Serbia is perfect, but there's corruption in every other place in this world. And I bet many of the viewers watching this video have done some sort of corruption in their life. You have either sped past the posted speed limit, which is corruption because you would have drove too fast. You actually maybe perhaps stole something as a child. That's corruption. And you can say, oh, I was just a kid, doesn't matter. You could have actually faked something on social media to portray something that isn't actually factual. That's corruption. There's so much corruption in everybody's life, but we like to focus on the things that actually are the big issues, but not actually focusing on the global problem of corruption. And I'm not saying we're going to fix that at some day or another, but what I'm trying to say is that regardless where you go in the world, you're going to face corruption. And it's not only focused and it does not only happen in Serbia, it happens everywhere. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.